Hi guys, it's Carrie Lee with Soma Chandra Tarot and Soma Chandra Libra. I wanted to take a minute and talk to you guys about a few things. I know I don't put my face on the camera very often. That's because one, I don't like to wear makeup or do my hair. And I wear jammies all day, so I don't want to be on camera. And I just want the readings to be about the cards, and I just want you to hear my voice. And I just want the readings to be about you guys. So I choose to keep myself off camera most of the time, but sometimes I feel the need to face the camera and talk to you guys. I wanted to talk to you guys about just a couple things. One was a very specific, probably very personal for just a few of you message. It's happening for Libras, or it might be happening for someone of another zodiac sign that's dealing with a Libra that's this way. It was a pretty scary download for me, actually. I know that not all of you are going through something like this. It's a divine masculine energy that is not healthy or safe, that some of you have been connected to, that will not leave you alone. And this energy came upon me and I meditated on it. And for any of you that that's resonating for, you need to stay away from that person. It's this person's dangerous. They're a masculine. They they might be a water sign. They're showing up as very emotional, but they're also kind of delusional. And what I saw was a lot of stalking, a lot of pestering, a lot of bothering. Um, I know that I've had a couple personal clients recently that have come to me about a relationship like this, but it's about more than the person in focus for a few of my clients that I've had personal readings with that have been dealing with a person like this. If you are, if this sounds familiar at all to you and you're connecting to a person this way, or they're trying to connect to you, do everything in your power to stay away from that person. They're objectifying you. They're kind of obsessed. And for a few of you, this person is kind of delusional and power hungry and dangerous. You need to block them. You need to even take legal action. Here in the United States, we have something called a restraining order, as most of you know what that is. In other countries, they call it something different. You have to go to law enforcement, you have to file for it. It costs money. You have to go before a judge so that it can be approved. Yes, you have to see that person in court when you do that, but it will keep them legally required to stay away from you. They can't contact you, they can't message you, they can't follow you, they can't get within like 30 feet of you. Some of you absolutely need to do that. Or perhaps it might help if you just ignore this person. Block them on all fronts. If you haven't blocked them and you're afraid of them and they're dangerous, ask yourself why you haven't blocked them. Just block them. That is the first thing you can do. And if that doesn't work, like if they come to your home or they try to reach you through other people or they come to your work or whatever, the only communication you should give to them is maybe through like an employer or a boss or something. The only communication you should give to this person is, if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to have a restraining order filed against you. I know that there are a few Libras in this collective that are really being burdened and are very stressed out by a person like this in their life. You're probably dealing with a person who has some kind of a mental health disorder, because that's not love. That's treating someone like an object or an extension of themselves, and that speaks to narcissism. I'm not a narcissistic life coach, but I have quite a few clients that come to me that either suspect the person that they're dealing with is narcissistic, or they know for a fact that this person is narcissistic. This is difficult for me to say to you guys, but I need to say it because it protects me as a reader. I am an empathic person, and I don't mean that in a clinical way, I mean it in a psychic way. I take on all of the energy of people that I do private readings for. If you know, if you're pretty certain that you're dealing with a narcissistic person and you want to know what's going to happen in that relationship, I'm going to have to ask you to please go find another reader. I'm not the right tarot reader for you. I don't want to do tarot readings for people who are intentionally engaging with a narcissistic person. It's not healthy for you. It can be very hard to break away from a narcissist. Our brains become addicted to a pattern that they put us in. And you are the victim in this situation. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you're in a situation like that, you don't need a psychic, you need a psychiatrist. It can be very difficult to break a cycle with a narcissistic person. They're very dangerous. You are nothing but an extension of them. You need to know that there is 150% zero cure for narcissism, psychopathy, and sociopathology, like sociopathics. They can't be cured. A doctor can work with them and help them manage their symptoms, but the relationship you have with them isn't going to get better. They're not going to change. And if they change, it will only be for a while because we are nothing but characters in a movie and the narcissist is the star. So they'll either put you on a pedestal and they'll future fake with you. They dive in way too fast with you. They fuel you and flood your brain with endorphins and it feels absolutely perfect. But then that devaluation process starts and you're just a disaster after that. Um, I can't, I can, there's not too much that a psychic can do for you. If you want a tarot reading about a person that you know is narcissistic, please go find somebody else. I don't want to read for you. Um, if you're having a hard time moving past someone like this and you want to know if they're going to come back and bother you anymore, I can take a look at that. But if you want that person out of your energy, you need to not get a tarot reading about them. That's only going to keep that energetic cord between you and that person continuing. Okay. I'd also like to touch on some of my rules and regulations about private readings because in the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 people either ignore my rule or just they either ignored it and broke it anyways, or they just didn't care. I have 2 boundaries for people that I won't read for. If you are in a situation that involves domestic violence, or if you are in a situation that involves severe drug and alcohol abuse, I will not do a reading for you. Because again, I don't think you need a psychic. I think you need a psychiatrist instead. That doesn't mean that you don't have the right to connect to your spirit guides or that you don't need to have guidance. But I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm a psychic. I've actually had to get some certifications and training on how to be constructive with the way I deliver messages because you guys hear me when I read tarot. I tell it like it is. I'm a Queen of Swords. And I had to learn how to be nice. What I'm getting at is most psychics are not trained at all. We're not trained or equipped to gently guide you all the time. We have this gift and we can see what's happening through these cards or through downloads and like clairaudience and clairvoyance and things like that. And when we come across situations where there's violence or there's extreme drug and alcohol abuse. And I'm not talking about drinking on Friday night and smoking some pot a couple of nights a week. I'm talking about extreme alcohol and drug abuse and violence. All we can do is tell you we see it in the cards and that you need to get away from that person. This is my gift that I share with you. So I have the right to decide whether or not I view someone's reason for wanting a reading as constructive or destructive. I have the right to decide whether or not doing a reading for this person will help them or if they'll listen to me or not. You know, and I personally choose not to here's what I'm getting at. I don't want to do a relationship reading for you if you and the person in focus for you have beaten each other. If someone has been violent with you, I don't want to use my gift to help you work on that relationship. Go find some two-bit charlatan that'll take your money and suck you in and tell you that person's your twin flame and they'll get hundreds of dollars out of you. Trust me, there are a lot of psychics out there that will do that. Some of them are actual psychics and are just horribly misusing their gift. Some of them are not. I've had a couple clients who it says it right on my website, and I require you to click a box that says you've read and you understand that rule that I have. If you're in a domestic violence situation and that's who you want a reading about, or there's a lot of drugs and alcohol addiction, like someone's an addict and you want a reading about that relationship, you know that's my rule. You've clicked yes that you understand it, and then you schedule with me anyway. What that tells me is you have no respect for my boundaries. I get through the reading with you and then I go back to the website and I ban you. I don't want to read for you again. The reason for that is because you ignored my boundaries. I have the right to set up those parameters. That's beyond my scope, okay? And I know my own limitations. So, what that tells me, though, and what you need to examine is that if you don't respect someone else's boundaries, you probably don't have boundaries yourself. So I don't allow people to cross my boundaries. I have only twice in the last 15 years ended a reading and hung up and said, "You've broken all my rules. You're not listening to me. You're in an obsessive, toxic, codependent, totally messed up relationship. And you've also had 5 psychic readings already this year, not by me, by other people. And they were stupid enough to admit that to me. If you've gone to 5 psychics over one relationship in the last 9 months, don't come to me. I don't want to read for you. You need to stop getting tarot readings. They're not helping you. They're keeping you stuck in a headspace that you need to be trying to break away from. And I don't have the skills or the tools necessary to help you do that. That takes a licensed clinical social worker or someone with a PhD in psychology or a psychiatrist who's a trained medical doctor that specializes in psychiatry. I myself dealt with a violent alcoholic narcissist and years ago, and I had to go to a special kind of therapy to help me work past that person. A psychic reading was not going to help me. So if you go to schedule a reading with any psychic that you see here on YouTube or anyone ever, if they have rules and regulations about who they'll work for and who they won't work for, don't press their buttons or their boundaries. Don't press our boundaries. It's unfair to us. We have our reasons, we have our own personal reasons. And if you've had multiple readings about a person that you know that's a narcissist, please don't ask me to read for you. I can't help you. You're not co-creating with spirit if you stay in that relationship, and a tarot reading isn't really going to help you. If you're in a situation where there's domestic violence, where there's violence or a lot of drugs and alcohol, that person is someone that you need to examine the relationship with in a clinical way, not from a psychic's perspective. And all of it comes out in the cards for me. When you're in a situation like that, whether you admit it to me or not, I see it. When you lie to me, I see it in the cards. When you're in a situation that you suddenly feel uncomfortable talking about, I see it in the cards. And then I have to be really careful about how I approach you with it. When you come to a reading for me, Spirit will hijack that reading. Will you get the questions answered about what's in focus for you? Yes. But I'll have clients come to me. Sorry, I'm holding my rosary. I play with it all the time. I have clients come to me and they want a love reading. Of course, absolutely. The majority of my readings are love readings. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to help give you closure, clarity, stuff like that. But then all of a sudden in the middle of a reading, I'll have something show up and I'll say, "Who's this Queen of Cups that you have a bad relationship with?" And someone will say, "Oh, that's my daughter that I'm not speaking to," or "That's my sister or my mom or my best friend." And I'll say, "Oh, Spirit wants to talk to you about it. About 2 months ago, I had a client, this was the first time, this was a first, you guys. I had a client say to me, I don't want to talk about that. I paid you to talk about my love life. If that's none of your business, I don't want to talk about my shitty relationship with one of my kids. And I was like, okay, I understand that, but I want you to know that spirit wants to talk to you about it. Well, that's not what I paid you to talk about. And I was like, and I've never said anything like this. I've never been this unprofessional in my life. And I said, yeah, I know you'd rather talk about that married man across the street that's just a player that's using you for sex. If that's what you want to spend your $85 on, lady, okay. She called me names and she hung up. Then she sent me 10 text messages in a row asking me for her money back. And I was like, I'm not giving you your money back. These are your consequences. So if you're unhinged, you yourself, if you're arrogant, if you don't want to receive the messages that are being delivered to you, you're going to need to find another reader. I'm a real psychic, and spirit will speak through me to you about what it wants to talk to you about. When you see a real light worker or a psychic, it's an emotional, intense experience. It's amazing and it's wonderful, but it's kind of like a cross between going to the dentist and the gynecologist and a psychiatrist all wrapped in one. When I have my tarot, yeah, that's really what it's like too. When I have my tarot readings, I feel incredibly vulnerable. I cry every time. Every time my psychic reads for me, I cry. He will talk to me about what I want to talk to him about, and then he'll say, "Okay, Carrie Lee, do you want me to see what else Spirit wants to say to you?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he'll say things to me like, "I can see that you're sitting too much and you need to exercise more." And I'm like, I know, yes, I know. Or I can see that you're still plagued by X, Y, or Z. What's this about? And I'm like, yeah, it is. I need you to know that we co-create the reading together, you and me and spirit. And once spirit steps in, it will talk to you about what it wants to talk to you about. So be prepared to get the truth, the whole truth, and absolutely nothing but the truth with me, you guys. I can't tell you how hard it is to do what we do sometimes. It's really hard I feel like most of my readings are amazing, but I would say about 1 in 10 readings, I feel like it's my job. I feel like I'm being asked to back a person spiritually into a corner and make them face something that they don't want to deal with. They come to me for one problem, but they've just come to me for questions. They just want to pull my arm like I'm a slot machine. Well, I'm not a computer and I'm not a wizard, and you cannot cheat fate. You can't just ask spirit for answers when you don't want to participate in your own life or you're focused on the wrong things for the wrong reasons. If you're focused on the wrong things for the wrong reasons, it is absolutely going to come out in your readings with me, whether I want them to or not. Like I just mentioned with that example with that chick, she was like, well, I don't want to talk about that. And I was like, I don't necessarily want to talk to you about it either, but spirit does. Well, that's not what I paid you for. And I'm like, okay, that's the kind of shit we get sometimes. That doesn't happen to me often, but it does happen. So be mindful when you come to me for a tarot reading about certain subject matters. Please be mindful of my rules and regulations. I only have two, okay? Which is if you're in a situation that involves domestic violence and you want to know what's going to happen between you and that person, I don't want to help you. I want you to get away from them because they're hitting you or you're hitting them. That's not healthy. You don't need a psychic, you need a psychiatrist, and you might need law enforcement. If you come to me about a relationship that is fueled with drug and alcohol addiction, I also do not want to help you. I'm not judging you. I just don't want to read for you. I don't want to help you figure out how to fix that. You already know the answer. You need to seek treatment for the drug and alcohol addiction and stop kidding yourself, about what you think might be wrong. You are free to go ask another psychic to help you. There are a zillion psychics out there. They will read about any subject matter and they won't tell you the truth either. They'll just tell you what they think you want to hear. So I needed to tell you guys all that. For some of you, again, there is a dangerous person around some of my Libra feminines, or perhaps cross watchers that are unfortunately dealing with an unhinged Libra male. You need to stay away from that person and not engage in them at all. That's not going to be true for all of you, of course. I don't want you guys to be all paranoid about your crazy, unstable ex. Those of you that this resonates with, I don't know if they're going to let go of you anytime soon unless you truly block them. And you might even need to get some kind of a restraining order against them. And if you are in that kind of a situation, please do not come to me for a tarot reading. You already know how that situation's going to end. You are well within your own control and power to change that situation. You can't change their behavior. Like if they won't stop, they won't stop. But having a reading won't help with that situation. I can listen to you and we can talk. I do emotion focused support counseling, but that is also difficult for clients to go through as well because I help you get in touch with your emotions and then decide what actions you're going to take based on the situation that you're in. So, and that creates a sense of fight or flight and vulnerability as well, which is why it takes about 3 to 5 sessions to make progress with them. But that's totally different from a tarot reading. But if you're in any of those situations, I can't do EFC with you. That requires more than life coaching. Okay. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about that. Thanks so much for listening, because part of that was a message for you, but it was also a message that I needed to deliver to you as well. If psychics and readers have boundaries, rules, and regulations, don't ignore them, because that tells us that if you don't care about our boundaries, you yourself don't have good boundaries either. And that might be why you get into chronic, codependent, toxic, dysfunctional relationships. I will not have that kind of relationship with you. So if you break my rules, I'm going to ban you. And if you're in situations that involve those scenarios, please go to someone else. I'm trying to help you. I'm not trying to punish you, and I'm not trying to judge you. I've been in some sticky situations before too with people, and I knew that a psychic and a tarot reading wasn't the answer, and I need for you to know that too. Okay, you guys, I'm going to let you go now. I have readings all night. I just read for Scorpio, actually, and I have to keep going, and I have to make dinner for my kids. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I hope you understand, and I hope these messages do help you. Take care of yourselves. I'm always listening to the universe for you, and I'm always here for you guys because I really love you. I'll see you next time.